Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
One of the books I talk about quite a bit is Dr. Adam Grant's book, Give and Take. It's a wonderful book. I have read it so many times. I outlined it, and I'll share that outline out. I just highlighted it. And it's like, okay, going back and reading the highlights, I'm just going to, have this all condensed down. I think it's probably 20 pages. But there's so much good information in that book. But one of the things that really stands out is his assessment of people in the world, and he divides the world into three categories, or people into three categories, and you can slice and dice humanity any sorts of ways, but he puts them into categories of people who are takers. People are always looking on the take, trying to get more than what they put in, and trying not to put anything in. People who are matchers, and matchers are people who are willing to help you out, but they're calculating about what they're going to get back. And negotiating even. And then there are the givers, the people who are just looking to make a difference in the world and really not terribly concerned about it. And that, according to Dr. Grant, that's a very small percentage of people. And so when I run into people that I perceive who are givers, and I try to be a giver, I'm not going to sit here and say I am. I try to be. But when I run into people, I latch on and I want to get to know them. A few months ago, I had the opportunity of meeting John Marshall. We're going to talk with John here in a minute. And he's the driving force behind a social platform called Helpster. It's a social media product designed to connect people in ways to make it easier to help one another. And Helpster is unique amongst social media platforms in that it intentionally focuses, easy for me to say, intentionally focuses on helping others in our network rather than just helping ourselves. And John's personal mission statement is connect people to other people, places, and events to enhance their life. John, great to have you.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, just for our listeners, we just hit record 2 minutes and 30 seconds ago, and we were talking for 30 minutes before we hit record about just philosophies in life, and it's awesome. I really appreciate having the opportunity to get to know you. You're a giver. I don't know where it came from, but I'm glad you are, and it's just.
Yeah,
I guess,
and I appreciate that. And actually, I read that book a long time ago, but in full disclosure, I don't remember it. And if it wasn't in my Audible library, I probably wouldn't have remembered I even had it. But you're exactly right. I do consider myself a giver, but it's in my personality, it's in my DNA, which, again, not patting on my back, I sort of thought everybody sort of had this attitude. And it's just not until recently did I sort of say, wow, not everyone has this. And I'm sort of putting this as, that is perhaps my superpower. That is what makes me different or unique than a lot of other people. And so, but I appreciate that. Yeah, the 10, 10, 10, and 80, I don't recall that because I certainly don't consider myself 10%. But I do focus on trying to help other people.
Well, I think part of it is everybody has the perception that they're a giver. I think if you ask, most people are going to say, well, yeah, I'm a giver. Look what I did for the church 6 months ago. And we're all very delusional. You go on a college campus, they've done studies and poll the professors. Are you in the top 10%? And 90% will say they're in the top 10%. Right. And which is not possible. It's not
Right.
possible, but that's just we're delusional. And so I don't know, but you as it's a superpower view of yours, and it's
Well, yeah, as an example, a touchdown for me, and we'll talk a little bit more about meeting people and when I meet someone. But a touchdown for me is to talk to somebody, understand their need or where they're looking for some help, just generically looking for help, and connecting them with somebody else in my network who can provide direct resolution or help with whatever that issue is.
yeah,
And it can be something as simple as where I get my firewood. Right. Having a reliable source to deliver firewood in the back of my house, stacked up, that's ready to burn. That's something that not a lot of people, if they have a fireplace, that's valuable information for them.
yeah, no, yeah. Well, let's touch up on the concept of adding value to relationships before um,
Sure.
seeking to earn their business or really earn anything at all.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked that. Um, I have a goal when I meet somebody, and we can talk a little bit about the actual process in which I'll do it. But let me first share what my goal is. When my goal of meeting somebody is to ask enough questions without being weird, but ask enough questions and very specific questions. I could talk to 20 people and use the exact same question and not the 20 of them they don't know, it's new to them, and ask the same question and find out what is it that how can I help this person? How can I help this person? Who in my network or what resource do I have that I can help this person? And so listen to them. And so my goal is to understand how I can help them, and two, to get their contact information. And if I get those two, that gives me the opportunity to follow up with, and again, to answer your question specifically, adding value. It's my goal to meet that person and add value to that individual or to that conversation before I depart, before I say, see you later, nice meeting you. So if I can add value right there in real time and then follow up with information about me and maybe the link of of what I referred to, or some information, a phone number, or a name, and follow up with that value, then that's huge.
Yeah, no, it's that's unique. That is a superpower. I would imagine that people are taken back. Can you give some examples of different value? I mean, well, I think the firewood is a good one.
Yeah, and actually, every case now. An example, let me check recently. Well, usually the process is I meet somebody, and then I'm sure I'll think of an example as I tell this story. When I'm in an event, I don't care where it is, I walk up to somebody, particularly if they're standing by themselves, and I always introduce my name first. Hi, I'm John. I don't think I know you. What's your name? Or I don't think I know you. And that's usually it.
Yeah.
And so one, it's very important that I give my name first for reasons I can share later. And then two, hear about their name. And then I love the comment, what's your second question? What's your second question? So I'm not going to ask this guy, what do you do? But rather, one of my favorite second questions after his name or her name, what's your passion?
Okay.
What's your passion?
Yeah.
And half the times they stop and look. I mean, what do you mean? You're supposed to ask me how am I doing?
Yeah.
And so, and they think about it, and they actually do think about it. And then based upon what their passion may be, I think of something in my resource that I might be able to help them. And if not there, then another question I like asking, particularly here at the beginning of the year, what plans or what do you have lined up for 2025 that's interesting? And people say they're planning on going skiing, and so
yeah. I love that. I find questioning like that to be very disarming. I mean, if somebody comes to me and asks that question, it's almost like, hey, relax. You don't have to check your wallet still in your pocket, kind of a thing, right? It's just relax. We're not going to talk business, you know? Um,
Interesting.
and because when somebody asks, well, what do you do? It's like, okay, what angle are we coming from? Do you need a financial advisor? You need an accountant? You need this, as we were talking before we hit record. I mean, there are people with, they're very calculating. They meet you and right away it's like, okay, what can I get from this? Is there, what's the opportunity here for me? Is this something where I need to move on rather quickly? Or is this something where can devote some additional time?
Well, actually, that leads to whenever I meet someone, and this takes me a while to mature to this level.
Yeah.
Um, when I talk with someone, I make sure that I am looking directly in their eyes just for that reason, because you've all been there with the person that's talking with you and just thinking of, okay, what am I going to say next? And looking behind you and next to you every way, okay, who am I going
Yeah.
to go attack next? So giving them undivided attention while you're in that space, I think they respect that.
Well, they know you're there. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. I've had people, I've gone to their office to meet with them and they're turning and working on their computer or packing a bag. Oh, keep going. I'm listening. I'm listening. Well, you're really not, you know, um, you're not. Um,
No, I even did that to my wife a couple of days ago in the car. When you get done texting, we'll finish this conversation.
I will do that too. With somebody, well, you just stop talk. I'll just stop talking. No, you can keep going. No, I'll wait till you're done. I'll wait till you're done. Um, and then they kind of get the hint. I mean, it's rude. It's rude. That's what I love about Zoom is a one-on-one sort of a Zoom. You get 10 people on Zoom, it's easy to be distracted and people are doing other things. But on Zoom, you and I are sitting here. Now, we've never met in person, but you and I are basically sitting face to face as if we were across the table from one another. And I'm engaged in what you're about. It doesn't matter who might be over your shoulder, left or right. I'm not having a conversation with them, so what does it matter?
Right.
Whereas when you compare that to a situation where I had somebody yesterday, they they didn't. I don't want to say they didn't want to Zoom. They just set it up as a phone call, and it's like
Mm,
to me, it's always a little disappointing. And I don't want to be judgmental because there may be. Well, there was. It turned out there was a very good reason why um, they couldn't set it up as a Zoom, but it's disappointing because I can't get that. I can't read their face. I can't read their gestures. Um,
no, I get it. Whenever I set an appointment to meet somebody, if it's not face to face, I would say, can we get together for 10 minutes for a Zoom preferred or phone call?
yeah,
And I had one not long ago though. They were zooming from their mobile device while they were still in their car. All
yeah,
right. Yeah. That's somewhere between a phone call and a Zoom meeting, I guess.
yeah. Well, um, it's a little for me. It's a little off-putting when those things happen because I've made the commitment to be at my desk. I have a phone that's got a camera on it. I could be in the car too. I didn't realize that was an option, right? I made it. I put you on my calendar. I didn't plan a meeting over this. I didn't plan a meeting anytime after this that I can't get off the call and get to, so I don't have to be in that situation. Um, they didn't, and
I respect that, and I appreciate that.
again, you can't be judgmental because people are running behind or whatever. But it's disappointing because I don't feel like the conversations are as intentional, as engaging, as productive
Yeah.
as they are when it's just sitting face to face and one to one. Um, I guess let's step back in time a little bit if you can remember. Um, both of us, we I don't know when you were born. I was born at 10 a.m., just not 10 a.m. this morning, right? We both have a few years behind us. At what point did you realize this networking thing and this whole notion of helping others?
Well, first of all, my profile is very outgoing, painfully so. And so I have been connecting. I mean, I remember back when I was in college and attending a Sunday school for the first time, in a college Sunday school group, and people were talking about, hey, let's I grew up in Sarasota, Florida, and let's plan a beach party. And without thinking about it, I go, yeah, I'll organize that. And so I got it all together and I organized and planned it. And the Sunday school teacher for years commented on that. And it was like no big deal. I mean, I'm very comfortable doing that. And I'm glad I could. So, um, so definitely, I mean, from college and forever, I've been a community builder in which I connect people on a mission or a cause, and I've done that to help start school or church and a private Christian school here in the Atlanta area, from the ground zero, and which takes a lot of people and a lot of connectivity and to raise money for that. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I took recently a personality profile for another topic, and I'm a community builder, so it's in my DNA.
Yeah. Yeah. We need people like you. We need people. And I think being a community builder is rewarding in a different sense. And we kind of touched on this before we hit record. And I think back to, I played college football, I played small college football, and I think back to the weekend that my coach, who coached for 29 years, he coached his last game, and word got out to 29 classes of kids
Oh,
who went through, and hundreds and hundreds of people came back. Now, this is a small little Division III school that nobody's ever heard of. I shouldn't say nobody, but it's just, I mean, it's not your Ohio State, it's not your Michigan, it's not, Alabama's or Georgia's. Um,
Auburn.
Auburn, there you go. Um, and hundreds of people came back, and I'm just looking at all these people, and many I knew. But it's like, okay, here's my coach. He never made the big bucks, but he built this community of kids, and the respect that man has. And he's still alive, and God willing, he's got another 20 years on the planet. But when he passes, people are going to show up in droves.
The
And
world is a better place because of him.
yeah, and
Huge.
and so it's, you don't, Inc. magazine or Person of the Year or whatever, are not necessarily community builders. But people like you build a foundation. I mean, look at the school you help create. All the kids that go through there. Now, my kids went to Catholic school. I get the private school. I get the Christian education. That was my wife's doing. I was born Catholic, grew up Catholic, still Catholic. My wife was born Catholic, went to Catholic school for 12 years, right? She was adamant, but we're going to send the kids to Catholic school. And I'm like, we're paying taxes and we're going to do this too. Best decision we ever made.
Wow. Great story.
Yeah. Because you don't have to chase your kids around. They're surrounded by great kids. They're surrounded by great families. And I'm not saying public school doesn't have great kids and great families. They're just not all great kids and all great families. And there's a difference there. So, can we shift gears here for a second? I want to hear about, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about Helpster and let the people listening hear about what you're working on with that, or really anything you're working on.
Yeah, it's still early, very candid with you. I've got a prototype that I share that people can take a look at it, and it shows all the areas that I'm involved with. The ability to connect with other people is not there yet, so that's definitely in the immediate future.
Okay.
But what it does do, it's a a website, and you can scroll down, and it's probably got actually too many topics in there. Like the school that I started, the Bible study I attend,
Right.
my mission, my personal mission statement, what my passions are, what my personality profile is, how best to communicate with me, information about I rent out a condo on Siesta Key, and so when I meet somebody who's thinking about renting a condo on the Florida beach, I can share that with them, and so very quickly they can it's like an ad for the condo. And so what it does now, though, even just looking at that information, and I think one thing that's very critical in creating a relationship with somebody is to be not transparent and authentic. And so someone can drill down on my help site today and see, this is who I am, this is what I believe in, these are areas I'm involved with. And they get a sense that I'm a real person. I think the walls are slightly broken down. And so it helps in being, like I say, transparent and authentic. Because I think one of the key things in meeting somebody is to be real, be authentic, and so because then it breaks the walls down. They're usually more apt to share with you,
Right.
and then a lot of times that will point them to, okay, what's the next thing I can do for this guy, and half the times it has nothing to do with work. Maybe they're looking for, I shared earlier, I'm in recovery right now, and so almost 8 years sober, and so if I often share that, which okay, you're not always supposed to, but I do, because a lot of times a person then will share, well, I mean, now I hear, okay, they have a spouse, they're struggling, they've got someone in their family, and so right then I can give them some value, and create a relationship that's a lot deeper than what do you do.
Yeah, no, I know a lot of people, as I shared before, I've just never got into drinking. And sweets are my weakness. But I know a lot of people that are very proud of being in recovery. And
Well, I'm going to stop right there. I mean, proud, yes. Thankful.
Okay.
I'm more thankful than I am proud.
But I think that's good, because it's an indicator to other people of the possibilities.
Yeah.
Right. They take a look at you and say, you know what?
Yeah. And actually, when somebody picks up a anniversary chip and they go to their home and they go to any meeting that typically that day or that week, and they go to a meeting, then they will pick up a anniversary chip, which is a part of most meetings. And then who's presiding the meeting at that moment will sit down and give the person receiving the anniversary chip a chance to tell their story for a couple minutes, for the exact same reason, Frank.
Yeah.
But that, hey, if I can do it, then you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. But I want to go back to Helpster again. I am going to take you up when our product is ready. I want to, maybe you and your audience, I'd love to create a network, a helping network, if you will, that then people can get on and see, okay, learn about each other, and how can me in Atlanta, Georgia, help somebody in Sioux Falls,
South Dakota. Yeah.
Yeah. Geography's not.
Yeah. He's a recovering alcoholic, but he still doesn't know anything about geography. No, that would be great. As things move along, I'm going to get you back on the program. And we're running out of time here for this one, but at some point I really want to take a deep dive into the difference between referrals and relationships.
Thank you.
I think we could really, that would be a very interesting conversation from your perspective. So You haven't heard the last of John Marshall. John, what's a good way for people to get a hold of you?
Oh, thanks. Email and my phone number. I do both.
Okay, I'll put the email in the show notes. They can link right from it. And thank you for your time today. This has been great.
Thank you. No, the pleasure is all mine, Frank.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.